Welcome to Mixed Vibes, where we take a look at all things holistic and healing. Before we start, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel.
Okay, welcome to another episode of Mixed Vibes. I'm Maurice Carroll.
And I'm Janice B.
And in today's episode, we're going to be discussing shadow work.
Dun, dun, dun.
We're going to talk about what it means, the importance of it, why people avoid it, why it's trending, all of those hot topics. And but before we do, we're going to do what we normally do and go into the crystal of the day.
Yes, and it's a perfect crystal.
All right.
Perfect crystal for shadow work. Black obsidian. Black obsidian is not really a crystal. Okay, first of all, it's glass. It's volcanic glass.
Okay.
So it's when you're all black stones are protective. Let's get that straight. But you know, that's a part of my class I teach, right? There's 5 million black stones. Everybody's hung up on black tourmaline as a blocker and a negativity blocker, which is great. It does serve its purpose. But obsidian, it grounds you to earth energies. It clears your aura of negative energies or things you're carrying around from other people as well. But the really interesting thing about it is it's a stone of truth. So it brings out the things you don't want to deal with. It brings out things from the shadow self. Like
Wonder Woman's lasso.
It's also used, a lot of times you'll see the scrying mirrors, and scrying is a term that's used when you look into a reflective surface for answers. So same thing as a crystal ball. Okay. Obsidian, they have those mirrors that look like that. They're a piece of black obsidian that just reflects.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's a really versatile stone, but it's really great for not only bringing the truth out of situations around you. So if you have people that are petty or gossiping or things like that, it helps you see the truth about people. And some people don't want to see the truth about people. But it also helps you see the truth about yourself, which is also what people don't want to see.
Right.
But it is a great crystal to have as a tool when you're doing shadow work, which is our topic today, right?
Right.
So let's talk about shadow work. Yes, let's talk about it. And we talk about this a lot, you know. It's a pretty popular topic right now. Like Moldavite and empaths on social media.
Right.
But it really, it's not a new thing. Even though it seems like it's trendy, it's not a new thing. No. The term shadow work comes from the term the shadow self, which was coined by famed 20th century psychologist Carl Jung. And it describes unconscious parts of your ego, of yourself, that you're not, your conscious ego doesn't identify. And, you know, we see it on social media. We see it in memes. We see the dark side. It's like a spooky little Sith Lord or something that's like come to the dark side. You know what I mean?
I do.
And I think people get the idea that this is something bad or that it's something scary or it's, you know, something demonic. That's not what it means at all. It's just something about you, about a part of your ego. We all have ego. We're all human. That has been suppressed or something that you're just not conscious is affecting your life.
Right.
Is that a good way to sum it up?
It is. It actually is.
I think that, you know, the problem is people want the instant answers on Facebook. They want it on Instagram, on TikTok. There's like a 3-second blurb about your shadow self, and people get really hung up on that, you know, and they don't really understand the importance of it, like the importance of doing shadow work. It's not like charades it's not like the hand puppets or anything like that with shadows. But do you want to kind of explain why it's important?
So, from my experience,
that's the only thing you can explain from, right?
No, shadow work is something that's extremely important because it deals with the part of you that isn't upfront, like you already said. It's not the conscious part; it's the subconscious part.
Right.
I do know that, like, people might say, "Well, how do I find it? What do I, the whole nine, trying to figure out what it is. How do I find out?" I think if you think about what a shadow actually is, like if you're outside and you're walking, and then you're paying attention to yourself and your surroundings, but you pay very little attention to the shadow that's being cast.
Right.
It's still there, and of course it's linked to you, but it's still there. You don't really pay much attention to it. In spiritual realm, spiritual world, it works the same way. You go about your daily life, kind of, just living, being aware of your environment, but you don't deal with those secret places. And I don't really want to say dark all the time, because sometimes it's just hidden, sometimes. So I think that it's important because, and one of the good, let's do this. The way that you find out, one of the easiest ways to find out,
there's a lot of good ways,
is I'm gonna start with this one, and
Okay.
we'll go. Is whenever you say, "Oh, I feel triggered," that's the trendy word.
That's
right
another
now.
trendy word.
Right. So if something is happening and you feel triggered, that is a result of something that's happening in your shadow self. And a good way to kind of deal with it is to address it right then and there, to figure out, okay, why am I feeling that way? What is it about? Not saying you have to stop life in that moment.
Do you think people know, though? I don't think they know. I think that, like I said, it's unconscious. I don't think you always know. Sometimes I'm triggered by something, but I don't think people understand that there's a deeper thing around that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So a lot of times I'm going to say a lot of cases, not all cases, but in a lot of cases, when you're triggered with something, it has something to do that you've denied yourself, and that you kind of shut off and blocked, and now it's coming up. So, for example, with me, when I perform, when I'm playing, there's something about when people aren't paying attention that triggers me a little bit. It makes me go, I don't like that. And so here recently, within the past, I would say, 2 years is recent for me with my career. So within the past 2 years or so, I had to really address what is that. And I learned, every time I felt that way, it was because I knew we were getting ready to present something that should be taken notice to. So the conversations made it seem like they weren't paying attention, or the silence. Are you hearing what we're singing and saying? Are you paying attention? And I knew that it came from a place, from my past, way, way younger, when people would just overtalk when they weren't really interested in what was being presented.
Okay.
And so I didn't understand, for me, why that kept triggering me, until I had to keep addressing, why do I feel this way? What am I? So it's really simply just kind of finding and questioning yourself. Where did it come from? And I also didn't attack my shadow self. I didn't attack it and say, oh, you should know better. You should be in a different place. It was more like, oh, that's what it is. Accept it. Okay. It's okay that you're there.
See,
but
that's a very advanced mindset. That's because you're a Reiki master. Okay. Let's be honest. Let's rewind. Can I interject?
All right, go ahead.
Okay. So what happens, I think, with a lot of people, with everybody, is that this is affecting your life as a pattern, as some kind of a psychological problem, as it could even be a mental illness, but it's something that is not allowing you to live your fullest life. Okay.
Agreed, yes.
And you're not aware of it. So I know we know people, and we have clients, and we've worked with people. Corporate America is full of y'all that need to do some shadow work. No offense to my corporate America people, but some of y'all really need to sit down and do some journaling or something, because it's pretty painful. But you have to be able to look at something. So instead of saying triggered, for me, I don't say triggered as much, because triggered to me is more of a trauma response, and it certainly can be.
Yeah.
It certainly can be from a traumatic response. I'm not saying it's not. I'm going to say it's more about patterns that you're repeating. It can be a lot of patterns. Why does this keep happening to me? Why do I keep ending up with these kind of people? Why can't I find the right person? Why does this person make me so angry? Why are they getting on my nerves? Why are they working my last nerve? All that kind of stuff is the day-to-day comments somebody might have who needs to do some shadow work, right? And what you said is true. You're feeling a certain way. Why? Why am I feeling a certain way? And that's the first step, but I don't think everybody realizes that. You know what I mean? I feel like until they recognize that there's a problem, they just keep on with the love and light. And we know that we've had this conversation before in classes, on the podcast, that we have the spiritual bypassers, that, you know, everything can be healed by just having a positive attitude and putting some Reiki on it. You need some Reiki and some crystal healing. And I'm not saying those tools don't work, but this is deep work. This is not something that is going to be done in one Reiki session. This is something, you know, Reiki will open you up, open your awareness up to things, but it's not going to remove all of the patterns you've had since you were a child, right? That's not going to happen immediately.
Why do you think people are afraid to deal with the shadows?
Because it's not fun. Nobody wants to talk about what what their less than is, or what they view as a negative trait that will make them vulnerable, right? Nobody wants to be vulnerable. They want to be powerful. They want to talk about the things they do well, you know? Like, I'm a really amazing student in everything except math. So I don't talk about math. I talk about how great I am at writing and communicating, right? It's just, you don't want to put that spotlight on the negative stuff, but that's the only way you can heal, right? The only way. Let me give you this quote. So I'm going to read this quote. Okay. Because Carl Jung, who coined the term, this is a great quote. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So, you know, I'm not ever going to be anything. I'm not smart enough. I'm not worthy of this. I'm not good enough. You know, you're not going to ever get past that until you stop and say, what is happening? Why is this making me angry? Why is this making me feel jealous? Why am I comparing myself to this person? Why can't I do those things that that person is doing? All of those are, like you said, the triggers or whatever you want, the signs that something needs to be worked on. Right. Something is hiding in the shadows.
I don't like how when you hear the term shadow work, all right, for me, when you have that love and light person, when you have someone that's calling themselves a healer or whatever modality, for me, you said that, you know, people don't want to deal with that and don't want to show it, don't want to reveal it. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one, but for me, when I see somebody that does admit and does put in front, I have an issue, or I have these are the things that I deal with.
I'm going to therapy.
But, when that is up front, to me, I would listen to them more, because they've me, that's the sign of strength. That's the sign of the real power. You know what I mean? And I think that the way that the trendiness of wearing all white and everything, like you said, is love and light, and I can do this for you, I can heal you, you know, talking in a whisper and sounding deep.
Namaste.
You know, I think that
Grand Rising Peace Queen.
I think that when people are more realistic with, you know, both sides, right, to me, that's the sign of strength. Right. And I think that people should look for that element more than I have it all under control type of environment.
Right. Definitely. And I think, you know, the other thing that's really important is this is a constant process. This is not something, it's unlikely you're going to do some shadow work and just be done and everything is going to be great, because you're human. Right. You have an ego. You're imperfect by design, right? So that you're always going to have things that kind of weigh on you. And life changes. You lose people, you get sick. There's things that happen to you in your life that are going to continually change, and there's things that you're going to be suppressing. There's things you're not going to be conscious that you're having a reaction to those things. And the idea is to be in a place where you can be open and aware about those things before it does more damage to you, before you lose more people, before you have more unsuccessful relationships or whatever it is that's going on with you, that you can take a minute and step back. You know, we talk about taking a step back and really looking at this from a different perspective.
People have a hard time with
They
that.
do indeed, and this is
I
something.
have a hard time with that sometimes.
Yeah, we all do. We all do. For me, I think. I mean, I can give 5 million examples for me because I'm a dark side chick, man. Let me tell you. I love the dark side. No, but I've done a lot of work there. You know, I've done a lot of work with clients, and I've done a lot of work on my own. You know, and I think we learn from clients too. We see clients, and we see ourselves in clients too. And the way you said, people, when they see somebody who's a healer or a Reiki master, or whatever, who is open about the things they're dealing with, that makes the client want to go to them because they're speaking what they're thinking. And it goes the other way too. So if you're working with clients, you learn a lot of things from people, what they've dealt with, how they've persevered, things like that. But I think that a lot of people just move too fast because we are in a world right now where everything is instantaneous. Everything, you know.
Everything.
You want a recipe for something, you got it in 5 seconds on TikTok. 5 seconds, it's a 3-second recipe. You better hurry up, do it really fast, but you can get it.
Right.
But it makes everything look easy, everything look glossed over. You know, the YouTube generation of people, have a child in that generation, but they, and TikTok, you know,
Me too.
YouTube and TikTok, they're gods, right? They know everything. They know
Right.
everything. We're stupid, they know everything.
Right.
But everything is so edited. You know, it's like, yeah, this is a recipe for something, but they had to do 500 tries and takes to get there. And the same thing with healing. Healing is not this like miracle thing. You don't take a Reiki class and then suddenly you're just so enlightened about life and you're perfect and
Right.
you know,
Right.
this higher ascended, what's the word, ascended person that you can just, you know, heal everybody's problems without addressing your own. And your own might not come up right away. I think Reiki and doing energy work and things like that awakens things inside of you. So it makes you like, what's going on with me? You know, what's happening? Why am I feeling this way? I didn't notice this before. And that happens, I think it's like layers that just keep continually happening when you're learning Reiki and when you're doing this kind of work.
It's funny because I know some people, I've referred to it this way. It's like, oh, my other personality. You know, it's like, well, I'm really referring to my shadow side. You know,
Yeah.
that's the darker side for me. But I want to know, all right, so since that is a thing, a lot of times we have this thing where we're going through a situation and we're talking, and then you always see the angel on one side, the devil on the other shoulder, you know, kind of thing. And, you know, they're going back and forth and trying to get into whoever, you know, figure out who's going to make the decision and who's, you know, what decision you're going to make. You're going to go on the evil side, go on the good side. And for me, I always viewed my shadow side as, you know, those kind of things.
That's the stereotype, really.
Yeah. And
Of
so
the demonic dark side. I'm going to beat your butt.
when it comes to like films, for example, I always find myself rooting for the bad guy. To me, for a lot of reasons, they always make more sense to me.
A lot of times they're broken. A lot of
Right.
times they are broken
And
people.
they have justification for doing what they're doing. It's just how it's interpreted a lot of times. And the methods, the extreme methods that they normally take to do it. For me, and this is something I want to see what your opinion is on too. When I kind of got into the habit of looking at my shadow self as literally that, like another part of me. And so I'm basically taking the other part, having a conversation with that entity, that part of me, and saying, okay, instead of saying, oh, denying it and pushing it away, I'm having a conversation with it and saying, oh, look, wait, let's talk about this. Let's get this straightened out. We're still a team. You're still me. I'm still you. Let's talk through this.
You might
let's
be like
you know,
schizophrenic or something.
well,
You got a
hey,
split
look,
brain.
here we go. That's fine. But you know, it helps me, and I know I'm not the only person that has, you know, you have those two sides. Otherwise, it wouldn't be, you know, a stereotype if I was the only one.
Right.
But how do you think that people could get a better grasp on including that shadow self instead of talking about
Okay.
it into it like it's something else.
First of all, I don't think it's two sides. I feel like you're one person and you are made up of all kinds of experiences. And there's things about you that, like we said, are suppressed. So it doesn't, even if you say, okay, me feeling angry about this is something that, I'll talk to that side of me.
Right.
It's still a part of the present you. It's still
Yes,
a part
absolutely,
of
yes.
what you're presenting to the world. So I feel like it needs to be looked at as a whole. To me, I
Okay.
look at it as a whole. But honestly, I think a lot of people need help
Yes.
doing this. I don't do this on myself by myself. I do some of it. But, there are therapists that are trained to help you. And they don't say we're doing shadow work, but you're working on things that are bothering you or triggering you. Why is this the case? When I don't want to say when you're younger, but it is true. When you're younger, it's all about you, right? So you don't realize
Yeah.
when you reach a certain age, you start to notice, hopefully, anyway, I do know some people that are older that have not reached that stage. They think it's all about them. But hopefully you look at the world differently. You realize that people have gone through things, that people are not just like you. You can't put your experiences with them. You can't compare yourself to them. And everyone is different. Everyone needs some, I don't want to say sympathy, but needs that empathy. They need to have space held for them, for their own healing and for your healing, right? So it's not just let me deal with the shadow side of me. It's more about, let me deal with how I'm functioning every day. So an example for me, probably early on in music world, when we were first dealing with social media, when we were first promoting things and talking about ourselves and things like that, I would sometimes be apprehensive about that, and I don't want to say shy, but I've been shy for most of my life early on. I got out of that. But that little shy shadow person is still there sometimes. And I think it stems from that not feeling like you're good enough thing. That's something that I deal with. So for me, that's shadow work. So I would notice that if there were people who were also doing music, who were bold about it or unapologetic about it, or, succeeding at that or getting attention that way in the way that I was afraid to do it, I would get either angry or jealous or just feel sad and like giving up. And I really had to step back and question, why am I having an angry reaction to, first of all, someone who doesn't know me? This person has nothing to do with me. I'm reacting to them. That's my behavior, right? And I think that people don't own that. So for me, owning that and looking at it and examining where it comes from and why I'm feeling that way, it's really my own insecurity. It's my own apprehension of being able to speak out what I want to say and get the attention I want to get from what I'm saying and be heard. Instead, I could either not deal with that and keep getting angry at people who are succeeding at that, which makes no sense. But there are people that's why we have people judging people by how they look and what they do and how many records they've sold and whatever it is. There's always a judgment that's placed to keep you from being your best self. What somebody else is doing, I can choose how to react to that. So I have to look at my own shadow and see why that brings up a negative feeling for me. And now I'm pretty good at it. So, I think doing Reiki, doing healing work, doing spiritual work, doing things for myself as well as other people, and teaching classes.
Right.
Every time you go through a Reiki attunement, it's a new level of awareness, I think. Some new layer is peeled off. And I'm definitely not saying that Reiki heals all your shadow work. It does not mean you don't have to do shadow work because you're doing Reiki.
Right.
But it definitely opens you up to what it feels like to not be aligned, and why am I getting this? Why am I mad at this person? Why am I mad right now? Why is this triggering something inside of me that I don't want to feel, or makes me uncomfortable, or makes me not be able to be my best? And I think it's easier for me now to do that work, but I still need help with it. I still need, I just recently this year, after COVID and everything, and the pandemic and the stress, I just really started doing work on grief recovery. from my mom and my dad who have passed. My mom passed in 2016. I'm just now doing work with somebody else on that because I realized I was stuck.
And we're in 2021 right now.
Yes, I was stuck on it. So I wasn't progressing. I'm holding on to things that I didn't want to hold on to anymore. So I had to do the work to heal that. I can't just do Reiki on myself and everything I've been dealing with for my whole life is gone. You know, it doesn't work like that. But that's what we see. We see that. We see it in clients. We see it in our colleagues sometimes on social media.
Yep.
I've seen people literally say,
Yep.
Reiki, you don't need to work on this. Reiki will heal you. Reiki will do this, and that's absolutely not true. Reiki will align you. Energy work will get you, like we said, a better level of awareness and awakening. But it is not the cure-all for everything that's going on with that darker part, that those things that you're suppressing, the things you're not even aware of you're suppressing, that need to come to light. That's something a professional has to help you with, right? It's really good to get professional psychiatric help or therapy or counselor or somebody who is trained to help you look at it.
Right.
But why do you think it is, since we're talking about it? I kind of have my own answer. I'm going to ask you. Why do you think it is that there are so many people in our field of healing, of energy work, of spirituality, who don't do their own shadow work, who don't deal with their own issues, that spiritual bypassing that we love? What do you think the reason is?
I think
that's a big question.
Popularity of organized religion and how the leadership is portrayed in that the way that they are portrayed, like they have it all together and they only give out to other people and help other people and they have it together. I think that has a lot to do with it, and I'll go more specifically.
So we're talking like church.
I was going to say I'm going more with the Abrahamic religions. I'll go there.
Blame church. It's church's fault.
Wow.
That's not what we said. Not what we said.
But really, what I've, being in that background, a lot of times, and specifically in church, they teach that you take your burdens and leave it there. They say just give it to God or give it to Jesus and he'll do it, and it's you just leave it. Whatever you're going through, just bring it and leave it, and what it does, because the detail of what that means is not explained. So the assumption is just what the Italian says, just forget about it, and that's not how it works. And even if you look at different scriptures, it tells you that you have to do work, that you can heal yourself. There are countless scriptures in there that tell you can do you can, like Jesus himself said, that the same work that I do, you can do,
right,
and more. So if he's able to heal, if he's able to admit that, okay, Father, I'm having trouble with this, can we not do this? Like, that's him dealing with something that his shadows self. So he dealt with it. In church, a lot of times it's more, okay, well, you see the pastors and the leadership of the church that it's so shocking when their shadow stuff comes out in the open. You don't know whether they're dealing with it or not, because a lot of preachers don't say that they're dealing with it, that they have this other side. They don't really admit that openly to the congregation on the same platform in the same way that they are preaching at you.
Do you think it's because they're trying to maintain the image of being, I don't want to say more holy, but that, like when we talk about healers talking about being ascended or whatever.
Yeah, it's the same
They
principle.
want to have the impression of not having any faults, of already being healed.
It's the same principle.
You're above them. They're above you.
Yeah.
You turn to them.
Yeah.
And
Now,
they don't have any imperfections.
In some contemporary style churches, they are a little bit more open about it. but there's still a hierarchy that's kind of still subliminally there that shows, okay, well, no, I'm kind of cool.
Yeah.
It
I'm
kind of
easy to talk to,
yeah,
but you can't talk to me about everything.
right. So for me, when I'm looking at spirituality, shadow work, it hurts a little bit to kind of see that it's not dealt with more openly in the church environment, where that's where a lot of the people are hurting. They don't, anything that points to go get help over here is kind of shunned.
Right.
Go seek professional help. Oh,
You're not.
God.
You don't have enough faith. You're
And
not praying enough. You're not.
right. I was going to say, you're not praying enough.
You're not tithing enough.
Did you fast? Did you meditate? Did you give your money? It's like, I'm dealing with this mental issue over here, and
I see
I
what
think
you're saying.
mental health and wellness should be talked about more, and which of course bleeds into shadow work, because if you're not taught to deal with it and yourself, it's okay. It's one thing to say give it and leave it, but it's another thing to say, okay, I'm working on it and I'm gonna keep working on it, and the process, I'm gonna allow God, the universe, to kind of let things kind of move a certain way, but you have to put in your work. And I think that in church, it should be something that's a little bit brought
So
to
you
the
think
front.
that church itself was the beginning of it being suppressed in the spiritual world as
I
well?
think-
Is the reason why people who step out to be healers and Reiki masters and whatever want to make that impression, just like a pastor wants to be the know-it-all, the one who's the leader.
I think it kind of starts there, considering that's where a lot of people, when they come out of those religions, once they study
awakening.
and read and learn certain things, and they move out of that,
Right.
they still bring that same luggage
Hierarchy.
with them.
Yeah. It's an ego.
Yeah,
It's an ego thing.
And that's. I mean, I know we both, when we teach and when we're in front, we're both very transparent about the things that we go through to our students and in our circles and all of that. But there are not a lot of people that do energy work that are that transparent.
They're not. They are absolutely not. And we know people that I've personally have had students, and the student I'm talking about. Actually, we've had a couple of them that one of them literally had taken level 1 Reiki and was at a healing circle and basically was trying to lead the circle. Do you remember that?
Yes,
Yeah, and I was like, okay, first of all,
I do remember that.
and it is, you don't want to come off egotistical or arrogant, but you need to rein it back in, because you're here. There's two sides. The pastor is the person in charge. We are in charge of the healing circles. We are being transparent, but that doesn't mean that you have done the same work that we have. It doesn't mean you're here for our healing circle. You're not going to orchestrate it when you have never done a healing circle. You have no idea what's happening. And you yourself have just started your healing journey. Right. So there needs to be a level of, I wouldn't say respect, but like, for example, my Reiki master clearly has been doing Reiki longer than I have, because she was my teacher.
Right.
Even if she's not doing Reiki now, I still hold her in that level of respect, the way you would hold me in that level of respect. It doesn't matter whether we know each other. It doesn't matter what's going on. The same way our students hold us in that level of respect.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean we're better than them. It
Right.
means we have a deeper understanding of what's going on.
Exactly.
And it's our job to be transparent and approach things that are not comfortable to talk about. We
Right.
talk about things that people don't talk about in a lot of healing stuff. We talk about traumas. We talk about sexual traumas in the past. We talk about racism. We talk about white supremacy. We talk about stuff like that. And there's a lot of people that are healers. I was to do the quotation mark.
Right.
Because really, healer is a term that they use for everybody, right?
Right.
I use it for myself sometimes, but it's not my favorite term. But it does, we fall in that category. But there are a lot of people, I can pull them up right now on social media, that are, dressed in white, playing their gongs, sometimes doing things completely wrong.
Oh boy.
But not,
I'm feeling triggered.
but, but really, most of the time, those people will show themselves, though. So what's going to happen is when you see somebody who looks too good to be true, they probably are. If people aren't being honest with you about the fact that they go to therapy, they don't have to. I don't have to tell people I go to therapy. But I feel like when you open yourself up a little bit, it helps your clients feel comfortable. It helps the people that come to our healing events feel comfortable. They feel like we understand them because we're going through it. Dressing in white, wearing a white head wrap, calling myself whatever kind of name, changing my name,
Taking a picture with the white background and
Priscilla with
clouds.
holding the ball of. I remember there was like a whole. There was like
The
a
ball of
whole-
fire.
I kept sending to my friend Nancy, who's a Reiki master, because every time I saw him, I was laughing. I was posting him on my page. It was an advertisement for like some healing event, some like hokey healing event online, and it would be somebody holding this ball of light,
Right.
or they'd have like this big halo behind them. I'm like, this is the corniest crap I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But that's the image that people are putting out there, and
Yeah,
we don't
it is.
know. They're
It
not
is.
talking. They're charging you lots of money to come, and they're dressed in white. They look the part.
Right.
And people do that. Same thing with church. People go to somebody who they feel it's almost like they're afraid of them. They can't approach them. So there is a middle ground,
Right. So we have a lot of experience with it. And we kept talking about, what our practices are and what we've done and how we've gotten there and so forth and so on. Let's talk a little bit like some techniques that people can use.
Yeah. A lot of people come to us for Reiki. When they come to us for Reiki, when they ask us questions about what's happening through meditation and the healing circles we do, when they have those epiphanies, when they're crying, and all this stuff is happening.
Yes.
I think that's a
breakthrough.
start for most people. Most people already know I need help. That because of the celebrity awareness of mental illness, of doing your own work, of the failure of Western medicine to recognize. That's a whole other show, honey.
Yeah.
We could do like a 5-part
We just
show
talked
on
about that the other day.
But the outright failure and dismissal of the medical insurance system, the Western medicine, big pharma, whatever you want to say, people don't want to deal with that, or they can't afford to deal with that. So they want to find holistic ways of dealing with things. And as they're doing that, other things come up.
Right.
So, you might be on your third Reiki session and something that happened to you when you were a little girl comes out and you start crying on the table, but you don't know how to deal with it yet, right? So it's not my job as a Reiki master to tell you, well, just, come back for some more sessions. Yes, that's probably going to keep opening you up, but you need somebody to help you deal with those things if you can't do it on your own. I tell people to start either start journaling or start, like you said, I notice when I'm doing something, I feel this way. Why do I feel this way? What is making me feel that way?
All right, wait, but let's put the car in park real quick,
Okay.
Because we keep mentioning Reiki, and for those that this is the first time that
We
they're-
always do that.
Let's do a quick
What
maybe
is Reiki?
like the 2 sentence.
The elevator speech.
Yes, of what Reiki is, so that way because I know some people are like what. They keep saying
So Reiki
What is that?
is an energy work, really. It's a method of hands-on healing. You don't have to use your hands, but it was traditionally hands-on, of channeling what's called life force energy through the practitioner into the clients. And it's working with the balance of ki, Reiki, like chi in Japanese medicine. It is working with that energy flow through the meridians of your body, through your chakras, to with the theory that if everything is flowing freely, there's no blockages, you're healthier. So people come to get aligned.
Right.
And that energy flow changes all the time. So you could have a bad day, you could lose your job, you could break up with somebody, and now you have some blockages that you want cleared. And people who are regular clients know, I got to get some Reiki. Let me go get some Reiki.
Right.
So it's like acupuncture, like the chiropractor, like things you need. You can feel it. That's how people come to Reiki and energy work.
All right, and we're back.
So let's talk about things you can do personally. So if you want to do journaling, a lot of people like to do personal journaling as a part of their meditative practices or their rituals. There are a lot of prompts you can use. Some of the things you want to think about are, how do you think people see you? So these are journaling prompts. So if I was facilitating a workshop, I would say, get your journals out, write down, how do you think people see you? Because that's very telling. It's really how you think people see you. So it's probably not the way they see you. What are things that are triggers for you? That's what you said. What things make you judgmental? She shouldn't be wearing that. Why does it bother me that she's wearing that? I have nothing to do with her wardrobe choices. Where does that come from, right? What is the last time you felt down?
Felt down?
Felt down.
Okay.
What angers you? What makes you angry? Things like these are little things to think about. Who has the most influence over you? So that's a lot. These are things. These are journal prompts, writing prompts to get you to think a different way, right? And that's a great place to start because that's hard to do. When I say, how do people see me? I have to stop and think really hard. I know what people have told me, but how do they really see me? You know? Probably bossy.
I think I'm going to revisit that one.
Yeah.
I haven't done that in like a couple of years.
Yeah, I think that's a good healing circle.
Yeah,
thing
that'll
we
be
can
one I'll
do.
be crying in.
We do cry in healing circles. We do cry. Yes, we do. We all do. I cry when somebody else cries. I'm like, oh, she's crying. I don't know why I'm crying. But again, this is a lifelong process. This is something that you need to consider taking an inventory, really. And I think the spiritual world uses the term a lot because it ends up being stuff that we do work on with clients. But we are not the only tool in the shed, in the box.
Right.
There are life coaches, there are specialists, there are counselors, there are therapists. Your doctor sometimes, depends on your doctor, but can sometimes, not your doctor.
Triggering again.
Not your doctor. Not my doctor. But sometimes just talking in a group setting will help people. Doing group work, doing workshops. Any place you can get in that feels comfortable to you, where you can address these things that are starting to surface. You're not going to address them in one session, no matter what you do. You're not going to clear yourself of the shadow self. It's not going to happen. It's going to constantly
as long as you're
be
living.
an issue. You can deal with it. You can erase a lot of it. You can change the way you react to things. But what happened to you when you were little, you have no control over that,
Right.
In Reiki, we can send things backwards. We can send Reiki backwards. But even that is really just kind of healing your memory of that event and coming to terms with it and holding space for it. And being gentle with yourself, that's another thing.
You know what we should do?
What should we do?
All right. So, because we can talk about shadow work for a while.
Yeah.
So let's do this. Let's, for our listeners, for the people that are watching, listening to this podcast, let's open it up for them to email us.
Okay.
And they can email us questions about shadow work, and they can also email us and we can do like a healing circle around shadow work.
And we should probably explain the healing circles as well.
Why
don't you do that, Maurice? He's like, why don't you do it?
So a healing circle is, normally it's a small group of people. It's an intimate group of people that we pull together. And we lead it out. We talk about what that particular healing circle is going to be. We do meditation. We do Reiki. We do some sound healing that is involved with that.
And some journaling.
Some journaling.
Yeah. When you come see the Healing Flame Collective at Karma Fest on the main stage, we don't do all that. That's a whole different experience. This is something that was an offshoot that we put together to most people they like the experience that we did with the Soul Light Journey and things like that, and they wanted a more up close healing workshop kind of a feel instead of it being just an experience with you seeing us on stage, right? So we opened it up as Reiki masters that we're going to do these circles, and and it's been pretty successful. I think it's good for people to have a group of like-minded people, and this is not like a gigantic auditorium full of people yet.
right.
But right now, it's more of a select group of people, limited tickets, where they can come in and know that it's a safe space to talk. It's a safe space to receive some healing energy.
Right.
So connect with other people.
We didn't say where to email us.
Where?
They
where.
should email us at thehealingflamecollective@gmail.com.
Yes. They can also comment under the YouTube if they want to just comment. Unless it's private, but they can certainly comment underneath of
we could definitely
YouTube.
Work that out.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
I think a lot of people have questions about it. I think, again, you see all the memes and all the jokes about it on social media. But I think people really are struggling with things, especially right now, with all the things going on in the world, and things are coming up to the surface. The whole world has done shadow work, right? We've had a pandemic that shut everything down. So when you shut everything down, you got to look at stuff you don't want to look at, right? You're forced to be in the house thinking about things you don't want to think about. You don't have the distractions. And that's what, with the healers, that's what the spiritual bypassing is. It's like a distraction. It's like, look how good I look. Look at my gong and my sage. I'm going to sage you.
My bowl.
But you can only be distracted for so long.
Right.
You can't keep pushing it to the side. You can't keep dressing it in white. You can't keep calling it something it's not.
Right.
It's going to come to the surface. And most of the time, the people that come out of the gate running, and I tell them to slow down. You hear me all the time. I tell clients, I tell people at the Healing Circle, I tell my students, slow down. You're moving too fast with this journey. It's an experience.
Right.
And when those people that come out too fast and don't listen, they always fall back. They always fall back down. So it's really important to do the work. It's really important to take your time.
Well, like I said, we could talk about this.
We might need a part 2 on this one.
Yeah, we might. You know what?
We'll
let the listeners decide. You guys email us, think we should do a part 2. And then we'll come back with something else.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us on Mixed Vibes. See you next time.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Mixed Vibes. If you liked this episode, remember to subscribe to our channel. You can find us on social media at The Healing Flame Collective, and you can email us at thehealingflamecollective@gmail.com with your topic ideas. See you next time.